Alright folks, welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are all doing well out there. Today I want to make a little video about why I gave up my real estate license. If you guys have been following the channel, you might know that earlier this year, back in January or February I believe, I finally got my real estate license after initially failing the exam, studying a lot for it, and then finally passing the exam, all the requirements for TREC, and getting my real estate license here in Texas. Now, it's obviously not even been a year since I initially got my license, and I've since revoked it and went inactive. But what I want to do today is give you guys some of the reasons why I decided not to continue pursuing my real estate realtor buying and selling real estate journey, as well as some of the reasons why it might be a good fit versus a not good fit for you guys out there that might be considering getting your license, trying to buy and sell real estate, especially as it comes to supplementing your own real estate investments like I'm doing. So before I jump into all the reasons why I gave up my real estate license, I want to talk a little bit about the context behind why I got my real estate license here in Texas in the first place. So earlier last year, I initially got my first investment property, which was on a 30-year fixed loan, did 20% down, and it was a single family purchase that I was doing a house hack. As you guys probably know if you've watched the previous videos, I have some tenants, I'm renting out the other rooms, I live in the smallest one and I share a bathroom and all this. And so basically the idea is that I have my tenants help offset my mortgage payments, and so while they're also getting a good rate on rent, they're helping me pay my mortgage off, and it's a win-win situation. I then got my second investment property in San Francisco, which is a whole nother mistake and another video to make. But at the time, I thought it'd be a good idea to become a realtor myself so I could increase my margin a little bit by saving the costs on the commissions you have to pay for buying and selling a property. Traditionally, it's about 3% that you have to pay to the buyer agent, and then on the selling side, it's 6%. And depending on the market, the listing side might have to pay for both the buyer and the seller fees. Obviously, all of these things could be negotiated, but again, my initial thought was that by increasing my margin, I decrease my risk portfolio by having a little bit more of a buffer in case I wasn't able to buy property for as low as I was expecting, or wasn't able to sell for as much as I was hoping for. Now, as I also briefly just mentioned, I also thought at the time it would be a good idea to get my real estate license to become more educated in real estate in general, so I'd have a better idea for especially the laws and forms and different protocols, especially here in Texas, that are specific to the state. That would be good to know, especially as both a homeowner, a property manager, and a realtor, as well as just an investor in general, so I could be more keen on my decisions based on the specific intricacies of the state protocol. Now, getting my license itself was not an easy process, okay? So I initially thought that I'd be able to breeze through, I believe it was 80 hours, maybe 100 hours of education they have to do through a course, whether it's in person or online, especially since COVID. I know a lot of people that have become realtors have done their education online, which is a lot more convenient, especially if you have a full-time job, that you could then do your realtor education on the side after work. I personally found that there was a lot of content to digest. Is my fucking mic off? I'll say that I probably spent about 1 to 2 months on the entire education process, completing all the learning hours required and actually passing all of the exams within the courses that you need to pass in order to actually be eligible to take the state exam and the national exam. Now, obviously, being in 2020, everything is available online. There's a lot of resources out there that help you study and be more efficient in your studies so that you're prepared with the right tools when you go up to take the national and the state exam. That being said, the state exam was a lot tougher than I thought it would be, especially with regards to the specific state laws. And that was something that really got me because I obviously didn't pass the first time around. I then finally got my license on the second try, and I became a licensed realtor. I then hung my license here in Austin, Texas with Keller Williams, which is a pretty big brokerage across the nation, but since they started here in Austin, Texas, especially being a big brokerage and not having too many requirements of having previous sales and all this, at the time I had a few clients, most of which were investors like myself. I thought it'd be a good idea just because, one, I could both learn from them as well as be able to focus on clients that's primary objective was similar to mine. So I'd be in a similar mindset and be able to give some pointers based off of my knowledge of the market and what would be best for investors, since that's the advice that I would be taking myself. Now that's a pretty good segue into now the reasons why I gave up my real estate license. So the number one reason is that while having these investors as clients, I quickly realized that being able to give my full attention to real estate, especially the buying and selling and being a realtor for people, took a lot more time than I expected. Now that's something that I'm sure if you guys are realtors out there, you're probably like, oh, you should have known this and it's gonna take a lot of time and you should have expected this going into it. To put it in perspective, I've always been pretty good at doing a lot of things. During college, I had 3-4 different jobs, doing multiple different clubs, fraternity stuff, ROTC, you name it. I was doing all kinds of stuff at the same time and I was able to manage pretty okay. Being a realtor is a certain type of time commitment commitment that really requires you to give your full attention to your clients. This is something that I quickly realized because I myself, as an investor, if I wanted to buy a property, I went out and found a realtor that is doing all these things that doesn't have their full attention on me as their client. Personally, I wouldn't want them to be my realtor. And to my clients, I felt that was unfair if I wasn't the type of realtor that I would want myself. I mean, between my full-time job that really is supposed to be a 9 to 5, as well as doing all the Army Reserve stuff, and then being the property manager of my own 2 properties, not to mention working out, fixing my car, fixing my house, doing this awesome YouTube channel, all these other things, there really isn't enough time in my schedule to be giving my full attention to my clients, which I think just isn't right. The last thing I'll say is that personally, I don't think that I'm the type of person that will end up being a great realtor. Being a realtor is a profession that takes a certain type of person, as does almost any profession. And you'll soon realize that if you're doing it and it's not for you, you'll realize fairly early on if you're not the person for the job that you're doing. My biggest thing is that being a realtor takes a lot of patience. And having a lot of patience is something that not everyone has. What I mean by that is that as a realtor, you don't necessarily get to pick and choose all your clients, especially in the beginning. You're gonna have to work with a lot of people that you don't necessarily want to deal with. And there's a lot of problems that arise that are not necessarily your problems, but because you're someone's realtor, and it's your fiduciary responsibility to not only give them the best advice, but be there for them in all types of situations through the home buying or selling or listing process as a realtor. Problems caused especially by incompetent people is something that I really just can't stand. And that's not necessarily other people's fault. Sometimes people just don't have the education or they're just not knowledgeable on a certain topic, and you're gonna have to be okay with that as a realtor. You're there to guide them through the process. But again, it's a type of patience that you need as a realtor to deal with all kinds of people, and you have to maintain a positive attitude through all of it. So, between not having the patience for it and not being able to give my clients my full attention, I thought that being a realtor just wasn't right for me at this time. Now, if it's not already obvious, I want to address a misconception that I had before I got my real estate license. And that is that there is a huge difference between investing in real estate and being a realtor. I know plenty of people out there, especially YouTubers, that are both a realtor and have their own investment properties, but I want to say that being a great realtor and being a really good real estate investor are completely different things. And especially if you're looking for, passive income, or if you want to build your wealth and all this, being a realtor is pretty much having a job. It's not building anything, really. You're building your client base and making relationships with people, which is great and helpful for real estate investing, but it does not translate directly to exactly what you want to accomplish with investing in property, building equity, and actually having these properties under your own name. One final thing that I'll mention with why I gave up my real estate license is that there are so many fees associated with just keeping your license active. So I know it differs from brokerage to brokerage, but specifically for the brokerage that I was with, there were continuing fees just to have my license. And because I didn't have any clients at the time that I was actively pursuing because I was just traveling too much, not being able to have clients at the time, it just didn't make any sense for me to be paying for a license that I wasn't actively using. So with all that, that leads to the big question, is getting a real estate license worth it? Now, if you're in the frame of mind that I'm in, which is to invest in real estate and build a portfolio of properties over time and have the maximum margin that you can possibly have for each of the properties, whether that's through renting, flipping it, doing whatever it might be. I don't think that getting your real estate license is going to be worth it in the long run. While there's plenty of useful education that comes with getting your real estate license, these are also things that you learn through both doing it, which is buying and selling real estate, but also working with great realtors and again, building those relationships in real estate. I think getting your license is definitely worth it, especially if you're really young and just getting started and getting a job and you don't have too many other responsibilities, and taking on all kinds of clients is something that you have the time to do. But if you're established, you have a full-time job, you're also in the military, you do all these other things, and you're running a YouTube channel, I just simply don't think you're going to have the time for it. Again, ask yourself the question, do you think that you can be the type of realtor that you would want to hire? If the answer is no, then don't be a realtor, because you'd be doing a disservice to those people that end up being your clients. Now, in hindsight, it's not like I regret all of it, right? I learned a ton from the real estate education, and here we are today. I have an inactive license, so if I end up deciding to go back and getting my license active again, it's not like I have to reapply and do the whole thing. I think there's a 2-year period before that happens, and so while it's inactive, I can reactivate it by doing some stuff, and it's gonna be all good. That being said, my future plans for right now are to continue with the properties that I do have right now, and there's a lot that's in the works, especially with my property in San Francisco, which, if you guys are aware, is not doing great. And it's actually on the market. It's been listed for quite a while, and it's honestly not doing very well. Much of the blame, I have to say, is on myself for not doing the proper calculations prior to purchasing the property. Initially, I thought I was getting a great deal, off-market property. I had connections for doing the renovations, but a lot of things did not go to plan, and almost everything that could go wrong pretty much went wrong in my first real estate flip, if you want to call it that. And so here we are in this market that's no longer a seller's market, and I'm having a lot of trouble selling the place. So I might end up having to rent it out. I'm gonna make a full comprehensive video for you guys about that real estate investment fiasco so you guys can learn from my mistakes and not do some of the things that I did there. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it was useful for you guys that are out there considering getting your real estate license and whether or not it makes sense juggling being a realtor, having a full-time job, and also investing in real estate, and whether or not that fits what you want to accomplish. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below, especially if it pertains to getting your license here in Texas, because that's something that obviously I've done. And as always, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all in the next one.